saluting the military, but it's also about two other things, baseball and barbecues. What better way to bring them all together than a baseball game at Citi Field on Memorial Day on a gorgeous evening. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field and a happy Memorial Day to you. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling joins us in just a moment. The Mets open a 4-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. More bad news for the Mets today. Jose Reyes found out this afternoon that his grandmother had passed away, and Jose is on his way to the Dominican Republic. He'll be placed on the bereavement list. He'll be out 3 to 7 days. The Mets have replaced him on the roster with Bobby Parnell. Also, on a positive front today, R.A. Dickey, who hurt his foot in Chicago last week, says he's good to go for his start tomorrow night. But the big news is about Reyes, and the Mets have had to struggle all year with people not available, whether it be Johan Santana or more recently David Wright and Ike Davis. And now Reyes, who is so important to this team, it almost defies description.
And just coming off maybe his best game of the season. 4 hits on the day, opened the game with a triple. He had 2 triples in the game, 4 for 5, scored 3 runs. He's been a catalyst for this Mets team all season long, and he cannot be replaced. But Terry Collins has had to ask people all season long to do that. Yesterday's ball game, Murphy and Tolley both had 3 hits. Maybe they can carry some of that weight tonight.
Ruben Tejada will move over to play shortstop to take Reyes' spot, and Willie Harris will move into the leadoff spot, something he's done frequently in his career. But Reyes is Reyes, and the Mets are going to have to do without him for at least a few days as he attends the funeral for his grandmother. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Pirates are in town, and they bring with them one of the success stories in Major League Baseball this year, their young right-hander Charlie Morton, who seems to have finally kicked his career into gear.
You know, the Connecticut native last season had a historically awful year, 2-12, an ERA 7.57, but it's great to see that he's turned it completely around. 5 wins in his first 9 starts this season, and going up against Dylan G, who's just been outstanding since the loss of Chris Young. He solidified that 5th spot in the rotation. 4-0 this season, 6-2 in his career, and he's been wonderful for this Mets rotation this season.
Mets had themselves an historic offensive day yesterday. They'll try and produce some offense on Memorial Day for Dylan G. Grab a cupcake and come on back. All the action coming your way tonight on SNY. IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By Cholula Hot Sauce. Looking for the perfect balance of flavor and heat? Add Cholula to your next meal. The hot sauce with the wooden cap. By Kia Motors. By your Tri-State Ford dealers. By AT NYN. Rethink possible. And by Audi. Tickets for the inaugural soccer match at Citi Field featuring the national teams from Ecuador and Greece on Tuesday, June 7th at 8 p.m. are on sale now. Tickets are at 718-507-TIXX or visit 507TIXX.com right now. On Memorial Day, Mets and Pirates both wearing commemorative caps. The Mets visited the Intrepid today. Big day for the military and baseball. The first pitch coming right up. Season. And the Mets greeted by military personnel as they take their positions.
Well played here by the Mets. Murph, his 15th start of the season at first base. Turner moves from third to second base because of the absence of Reyes. Reyes, of course, for the funeral of his grandmother. So Tejada will get his first start at shortstop. Reyes hadn't missed a game up to this point. And then at third base, Willie Harris, who will be leading off for the Mets today. Jason Friday, his first start in left field this season. Then when you go around the horn, you got Angel Pagan in center field. A little late arrival.
That can get you demerits, you know.
Absolutely. Carlos Beltran there on time. Military time, very good. Josh Tolley behind the plate. 3 hits. 3 RBI in yesterday's game, and Dylan G has just been outstanding. We know that last start he had struggled in the beginning, pitched well through 6.
Credit for his first career complete game in that rain-shortened affair. Here's your Pirates starting lineup. Jose Tabata has moved recently into the leadoff position full-time, and that's helped out. Andrew McCutchen, probably the Pirates' best player, now batting third. Neil Walker, the Pittsburgh native, has had a good year. The veteran Lyle Overbay now manning first base, and the Pirates had to put 2 more players on the disabled list today, as Steve Pearce and Ryan Domit both won on the DL, so they're a little shorthanded.
We can see the 7th start, like you said, Gary, 4-0. That nice ERA so far for Dylan G. The only thing that's strange when you look at his record, because he's such a control pitcher, he's hit 5 batters so far this season.
Maybe that's by design.
I'd like to see that.
I mean, when you're not an overpowering pitcher, as you look at Clint Hurdle in his first year as the Pirates manager, had 7 years in Colorado, including that fantastic run in 2007. But when you don't throw particularly hard, sometimes you have to pitch more inside and maybe hit a few batters.
I totally agree, and I think that's what sets up his changeup and breaking pitches.
Well, here's Jose Tabata, the former Yankee prospect, just 22 years old, hit .299 as a rookie last year and got off to a very fast start this season. Had cooled down and it's hitting .252. The Pirates don't score a whole lot. They've pitched very well this year. They're only 3 games under .500. And G starts tonight with a fastball, and Tabata taking a big hack, 0-1. Tabata has just 3 home runs and hasn't hit one since the 17th of April. Looked like he was trying to break that streak on the first pitch. And he hits this one down the right field line. A long run for Beltran over toward the corner, and he reaches out to make the grab. Nicely done by Carlos Beltran for the first out of the night.
You know, it's an interesting catch because you almost have to time it, because if you rush over there, you won't have time to stop before you hit that wall that's literally 3 or 4 feet in foul territory.
Caught it in fair territory, and you just run out of room very quickly. And I think his experience at Wrigley Field the other day probably is serving Carlos well as he makes those approaches to the sidewalk.
Well, those conditions just so awful. Wind blowing out there.
Here's Garrett Jones, the #2 hitter. He has more home runs than any Pirate over the last 2+ seasons, but now recently placed in the #2 hole. Seems like an odd spot for him.
Well, he hasn't hit a home run since the 2nd of May, so a little drought here for Jones.
He's a good on-base percentage guy. He's only hit .236, but a .349 on-base percentage, and I think that's why Clint Hurdle decided to move him into that 2 hole. But you see the Pirates are being very aggressive early against Dylan G. Jones, who washed out with a couple of organizations before landing in Pittsburgh 2 years ago. And late on that fastball, and it's 1-2. This is a Pirate team that lost 105 games last year and has lost 90 or more games 6 straight seasons. They haven't had a winning season since 1992. So for them to be 3 games under .500 right now, that's a big step in the right direction. And Jones gets ahead of one and yanks it up into the promenade down the right field side.
And you and I were talking about it before, Gary. What Clint Hurdle has done for his team, and they played majority of the games on the road, has been outstanding considering what they did last season.
Well, last year they won 17 road games the whole year. They've already won 15 road games this season, and we're not even at the end of May. Bull just foul.
And 17 is historically bad, and it usually comes back to the Mets when it's the road record, right?
Well, the Pirates' 17-64 road mark was the worst since the '63 Mets. So they've made huge strides in that respect. But the most important piece is they're getting good pitching. 1-2 to Garrett Jones. And he fouls back the changeup. Dylan G made his 2nd career start against the Pirates last September and threw 6 shutout innings against them in a 1-0 victory. He's done very little other than win since coming to the major leagues last year. And a good changeup, and Jones did well to foul that off.
It's looking a little bit like the leadoff hitter for the Nationals, Bernardino. Remember that at bat where he threw him the kitchen sink, ended up striking him out on the curveball.
Well, his last start, G pitched on a horribly cold and rainy day in Chicago and really didn't get much of a feel in the first inning. Swing and a miss, and he strikes out Jones for the 2nd out. And G said after the game, he said, maybe I didn't prepare well enough, or maybe I just wasn't ready for the conditions. And he had a really bad first inning, but to his credit, he really kicked it in gear for the 5 innings after that.
You know what I liked about his comments is he said that he might not have been ready. He had a hard time dealing with the cold. But after his teammates came back and gave him the lead after he'd given up those 4 runs, he felt an obligation to go out and kick it into gear.
Well, here's Andrew McCutchen, terrific young player. is 24 years old. Nice blend of power and speed. Has 9 home runs already this year. Hitting at .257. But he's also in the top 10 in the league in walks, so his on-base percentage a healthy .357. Lines one to right, but right at Beltran. And so Dylan G has himself a 1-2-3 opening inning. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. Jose Reyes away and missing his first game of the season. Willie Harris goes in the leadoff spot. Justin Turner has another RBI streak going. 5 straight games. Willie Harris leads off and takes ball 1 from Charlie Morton.
Well, when you watch Charlie Morton pitch, it's by no accident that you'll see almost Halladay light. Roy Halladay studied a lot of his tapes, took a lot of his mechanics, and employed him into his way of pitching.
And Harris pops it up on the left side of the infield. Ronnie Cedeno standing under it. And that's the first out.
Well, this is the Coors Light defense for the Pirates. Tabata, McCutcheon, and Jones across the outfield. Wood, Cedeno, Walker, and Overbay. Wood came over from the Angels when he was designated for assignment. And Chris Snyder, the ex-Diamondback, is doing the catching of Charlie Morton today.
You saw that number on Morton, 59.7% of his outside ground balls. He's a guy who, when he first came up with the Braves, was a 4-seam fastball guy, but now exclusively a sinker ball pitcher.
Well, I think what happens to a lot of these young pitchers is that they spend their entire life striking out the world. And then when they get into the minor leagues and major leagues, that these guys, they don't strike them out, so they have to change. And nice move by him going with the 2-seamer.
Justin Turner hitting at .330, and he takes that sinker for a strike. Well, Morton has made one of the great turnarounds ever. Last year, 2-12 with an ERA of 7.5. This year, 5-2 at 2.61. That's 7th best in the league. Little tapper out in front of the plate, and Chris Snyder goes out to get it. And that retires Turner 2 away.
You know, Gary, you never know when the light bulb is going to go off for a pitcher, especially one that's highly touted and highly drafted. And I think what happens for when I talked to the people from the Pirates today about Morton, they said he just decided to stop being a thrower and be a pitcher, a guy who, you know, used all of his pitches, and that's when it has changed for him now. Dramatic.
You know,
2-12.
There are light bulbs,
yes,
and then there's 500-watt halogens.
Well, that's what you got right here.
I mean, my goodness. Here's Carlos Beltran hitting a .274, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Now, Morton came up in the Braves organization and started out his career in Atlanta. Came over to Pittsburgh in the trade for Nate McLouth a couple of summers ago. And I thought the comment from Chipper Jones after he beat the Braves or lost the Braves 2-0 to Jair Jurgens in his last start was telling. Chipper said, before, Charlie always looked like a deer in the headlights. Now he looks like a guy who goes to the mound with some confidence. Yeah. And he does not allow first inning runs.
Well, I think one of the more difficult things to do, and you know, Tom Glavine had to go through it, Smoltz to a small respect in Atlanta. When you're playing with a bad team and you're taking a lot of losing games, that can hurt your confidence no matter how well you're throwing.
1-2 to Beltran, and he pounds one into the ground foul.
What was Glavine, 7-17 in his first full season? Takes a great mental makeup to come back from that.
Well, Greg Maddux was 6-14 his rookie year with the Cubs.
You know, I saw him his rookie year, though. You knew he was going to be great. Just knew it.
Daniel Murphy you saw on deck at a cleanup tonight. And the breaking ball strikes out Beltran, so an impressive start for Charlie Morton. The Mets are out 1-2-3. To the second we go with no score. Sunset, standing guard over the harbor.
People don't know when Keith is off, he's taking those shots right now.
They give him a camera?
Yes.
Wow. Neil Walker leads off the second inning against Dylan G and takes ball one. Walker, the Pittsburgh native, #1 draft pick by the Pirates back in 2004. He began his professional career as a catcher, and probably can credit his move to second base to the presence in the Pirates organization at that time of Ronnie Paulino, who just had a great year for Pittsburgh, and they thought he was going to be their catcher for the long term, so they moved Walker to the infield. And he lines one into center field for a base hit. So Neil Walker has the first hit of the game and his first ever hit at Citi Field. In fact, the Pirates are looking for their first ever win at Citi Field. Mets swept them 4 games last year, 3 games the year before. Here's Lyle Overbay, the veteran first baseman. Came over this year after spending the last 5 years in Toronto. Started out his career in Arizona and then went to Milwaukee before going to the American League.
You know, we always talk about the premium free agents every year. I thought that he was a nice pickup for them this offseason.
He's off to a difficult start. Normally a pretty high on base percentage guy. His on base percentage just .307 this year. He's got 5 home runs.
You know, a lot of times, Gary, they bring these veteran hitters over. They've always been good on base percentage guys, and sometimes asked by the offense on the team to do a little more and drive in a little more runs and take a few more chances.
Overbay now 34 years old, the oldest player on this Pittsburgh team. Dylan G gets it inside on him, and it's 0-2. Chris Snyder, another former Diamondback, waiting on deck. Speaking of the Diamondbacks, they're a first place team now. 6 straight wins, 14 of 16. And you know who's front and center there? It's J.J. Putz. It's been perfect so far. And the curveball pulled foul.
And they've gotten some good pitching from their young starters. Daniel Hudson's been very good. Cole Mentor's been very good.
Well, you remember when they came in here early in the season, they were really struggling, and Hudson didn't look good at all. But they have gotten it righted. And you know what? We said it at the time when Arizona visited. If they could just run their coaching staff out on the field, it'd beat anybody.
You might have to watch. Maybe Trammell's playing short once in a while.
Gibson up there for a big pitch hit at Bentley. Dylan G 4-0 to begin the year. The only major league rookie who's begun 4-0 as a starter this year. There's the 0-2, and it's tapped back toward the mound. G has time, gets the out at second, and that's all. 1-6 on the force play. Erasing Walker for the first out.
Well, Dylan G's a little mad at himself. He felt as though this ball got stuck and he couldn't really get the grip quick enough to turn that double play. See how he has that full hand on the ball instead of just 2 fingers like you would throw in the game, but still made the accurate throw.
Looks like he's throwing change-ups. Mercedes-Benz Ultra Low, brought to you by our tri-state dealers, on the web at searchmercedes.com. Now Chris Snyder. Snyder at 275 for the year. And a 372 on base percentage, picked up by the Pirates from the Diamondbacks last summer. And he drives one in the air to deep left field. Back goes Pridey near the wall, and it's out of here. Chris Snyder with a 2-run homer, his 3rd of the year, and he puts the Pirates in front 2-0. Well, Snyder is supposed to be the defensive part of the Pirates catching tandem. Ryan Doman, the offensive part, just went on the DL, so Snyder making long ball. You know, I've seen 2 sliders here from Dylan G. The first one to Andrew McCutcheon that he hit for a line drive for an out to Beltran, then this one, both hanging. Well, that's usually his 4th pitch. Interesting to see Snyder, who's always had that slider speed kind of bad. Nice swing there. Now Ronnie Cedeno, the shortstop. Pirates are just up there swinging, aren't they? Cedeno at 240 on the year. Change up for a strike. Well, this pitch needs to be down and away. Catches right in the middle of the plate. That's almost like if you put a ball on a tee for a major league hitter, and he didn't miss it. We're going to have to go to our crack staff and find out about Snyder against the Mets. I remember he gets a lot of big hits and a lot of home runs. Certainly did when he was with the Diamondbacks. Old foul by Cedeno, and it's 2-2. That is the first home run that Dylan G has ever allowed in the major leagues to a right-handed batter. That covers his 5 starts last year and his 6+ starts and 3 relief appearances this year. Brandon Wood, the number 8 hitter, on deck. And there's another breaking ball. That one bounces 3-2. So G not with much command of either his curveball or his slider earlier. Well, also the first inning, 11 of his 12 pitches were strikes. So I think this young Pirate team has said, hey, he's going to try to challenge us. Let's be ready. And it's bounced to short, and Tejada is there to grab it. And the overhand toss just in time to get Cedeno for the second out. Tejada going back to shortstop tonight with Jose Reyes away. Of course, he'd been playing shortstop all year in Buffalo before being called up.
He's an outstanding shortstop. He'll be fine. Defensively, Terry Collins said no problems for Tejada, but how do you replace that offense?
I would think the biggest problem going from second base back to shortstop is the clock in your head and how much time you have to make a play like that. With Brandon Wood, former #1 draft pick of the Angels, and they gave him every chance over a span of about 5 years to find his niche in the big leagues, and then in April they just finally gave up on him and exposed him to waivers, and the Pirates took a flyer on him.
Yeah, he just could not do it.
Lifetime 173 big league hitter, and that's in almost 500 at-bats. Came out of high school in Arizona, got a huge bonus to sign with the Angels, $1.3 million, and it just never happened for him. Swing and a miss, and Dylan G takes care of Wood on 3 pitches. Second strikeout for G, but the Pirates break in front. Chris Snyder playing long ball, his 5th career home run against the Mets, and it gives the Pirates a 2-0 lead in the middle of the second. Daniel Murphy hit a cleanup tonight. Leads off against Charlie Morton. Some buccos in the crowd.
They don't look very menacing to me. I'm sorry.
Well, they're like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, there you go.
2-0 to Murphy. Murphy hitting cleanup because Jason Bay is out of the lineup tonight. There's nothing wrong with Bay. He is simply getting a day off today. It's a little puzzling because Jason has just begun to hit the last few days. But I think part of the reasoning is you look at the splits on Charlie Morton, and there's Jason, who had a couple of hits yesterday. Charlie Morton has the most pronounced splits against right and left-hand hitters of any starting pitcher in the major leagues. The lefty's hitting .341 against him, the righty's just .172. So in the initial lineup, even before Reyes was scratched, Willie Harris was going to play left field tonight, and Bay was going to sit. And even when Reyes was scratched, Terry Collins decided to keep Bay out. And Murphy has himself a base hit. Boy, he's really starting to swing the bat well. Murphy's now hitting 9 straight starts, and he has the first Met hit of the day.
Well, I'll tell you, when you watch Murph when he's hitting the ball up the middle and he's hitting it with authority, you don't get much prettier swing. And I think that's what Terry Collins has been trying to impart to Daniel Murphy the last week or so. So when you get a pitch to hit, fire at it. Don't just try to put it in play. And that's really changed Murph this past 3-4 days.
Now Angel Pagan, who has hit the ground running since coming off the disabled list, 4 for 12 in the series over the weekend. Terry said he considered hitting Pagan leadoff tonight with Reyes out, but he needs him in the middle of the lineup. The Mets are just bereft of big hitters right now, with Wright and Davis out, and now Reyes out as well. So Pagan's hitting fifth.
We talked about it before, and it's going to be hard against Morton, the sinker ball pitcher, but with the Mets, with Davis out and Wright out, and he just, you don't have many opportunities for anyone to hit a 3-run home run.
Well, Morton's only given up 2 home runs this season. Moves the feet of Pagan, that's 1-1. 2 home runs in 63 innings.
I mean, yesterday was that franchise best 13 2-out hits.
On the other hand, the Mets have now gone 8 straight games without hitting a home run. So they're clearly, down virtually all of their big hitters. And even though Reyes hasn't been hitting home runs, he's been hitting plenty of doubles and triples.
Well, and you can't count on an offense to get 13 2-out hits a night. Occasionally, you got to have someone pop one out of the ballpark.
And Pagan lines one off the glove of Wood. Barehanded by Cedeno, but the throw too late. That's quite an effort by Ronnie Cedeno, but Pagan has an infield hit. Brandon Wood just couldn't squeeze this one.
Well, because of the threat of the bunt from Pagan, you have to play in. That's why they call it the hot corner. And right at Wood, over his head, only get some leather on it. A nice try from Cedeno, very athletic, to try to get Pagan.
Cedeno just had a 35-game errorless streak end yesterday, so he's been playing very well at short. Here's Tolle, who had a huge day yesterday, drove in 3 runs in the first 2 innings. And a chance here with first and second and nobody out. And Josh takes ball 1. So things have begun to perk up for Tolle, who had been at just a miserable skid for about 3 or 4 weeks. Got a lot of time off over the last week and a half, and has come back swinging much better. Charlie Morton from Reading, Connecticut, out of Joel Barlow High School. There's a strike, letter high, 1-1. The Mets are making him get the ball up a little bit.
It really is. That first inning, everything was knees or lower. Right in the middle of the plate right now for Charlie Morton. Always got to be a little more difficult to pitch close to your hometown.
He did pitch a game here last September. Didn't pitch badly, and no decision game for him. Slowly hit. Walker's only play to first. That's the first out of the inning, and advances the runners to second and third. So Jason Friday will bat with 2 in scoring position. Friday was the addition to the lineup when Reyes was scratched. As Terry Collins moved people all over the place, he had Harris slotted in left, moved him to third. He had Turner at third, moved him to second. He had Tejada at second, moved him to short. And Friday was inserted in left.
Well, I know you're so well prepared, Gary. What did that do for your scorecard? That was a little bit of a mess, wasn't it?
Not too much white out.
Oh, good.
No, the batting order was not turned upside down. Infield back up the middle. Third baseman Wood in against Pridey. And the breaking ball in for a strike. Well, Pridey had been playing just about every day until the last few days when Pagan returned. Made that nice throw from right field yesterday to gun down Jimmy Rollins late in the game. And short circuit any hope the Phillies had it coming back.
It's interesting when you look at the defense. You see McCutchen in center field, shaded to left field. We have seen in the past with his 2 3-run home runs that when he does hit the ball with power to the outfield, it usually is to right center.
Mets only have 4 3-run homers this year, and Pridey has 2 of them. 1-2 to Jason. Yesterday, the Mets, among their 17 hits, were 6 for 14 with runners in scoring position. Now Morton ahead on Friday, 1-2. And a short hop pickup by Snyder to prevent a wild pitch. 2-2. You know the last time the Mets had a home run at Citi Field? Today is May 30th. The last home run by a Met at Citi Field was May 6th.
Wow.
Jason Pridey hit it against the Dodgers. That's 3.5 weeks ago. Now Morton on 2-2, and the breaking ball swung and missed. Ball to the backstop. In comes Murphy, and safe at first is Pridey. And it cuts the Pirate lead to 2-1. Well, Pridey strikes out but reaches, and Murphy scores, and Pagan goes to third.
Boy, nice break here for the Mets. Good breaking ball here for Charlie Morton. Late break, and that's a ball that's got to be caught by your catcher. I mean, that's just a play that you cannot miss unless he was crossed up. A nice base running by Murph to score on that play. Remember, not too much distance between home plate and that backstop, so you got to make sure you can get in.
And they've scored that pass ball on Chris Snyder. Kind of like the ball Rich Gedman didn't catch.
I got Mookie didn't swing at it.
Well, here's Tejada. Ruben hitting at .265, first and third and 1 out with a run in. And the fastball in tight. Dylan G, who can handle the bat well, is waiting on deck. Tejada picked up his first run batted in of the season yesterday in the first inning. Little dribbler. And Wood has no play, and the game is tied. Well, sometimes you just have to get lucky. A strikeout pass ball, and now a 40-foot grounder to drive in the tying run.
Well, what can you do? You're looking for a ground ball twice, as Charlie Morton. He got one from Tolle, not hit hard enough. The runners advance, and this one from Tejada. Full swing, 45 feet. Wow.
So that's the second RBI of the season for Tejada as Pagan scores. So it's 2-2. Now Pridey at second, Tejada at first. They'll look for the bunt from G, who's 1 for 11 at the plate with 2 sacrifices this year. Pirates play it conventionally, and it gets away again. Heading for third now is Pridey, and he'll arrive without a throw. Oh, Chris Snyder, who hit the 2-1 homer for the Pirates, trying to give it all back single-handedly here in the second.
Well, Clint, you're going to have to look at it. You can't look away. That was just a tough inning here for Snyder.
Second pass ball of the inning.
Little sinker. I mean, this is, 4A baseball. You got to be able to catch that.
So now the Pirates are going to bring their infield in. Second and third and 1 out. 2 runs already home. 2 passed balls in the inning for Chris Snyder. And G takes it low. 2-0. I don't think I've ever seen that quite that way before.
Especially when you know the pitcher is a sinker ball pitcher. I mean, that ball naturally is going to go that way.
It's just like he didn't know which way to turn his glove. And now it's 3-0, and you can imagine that Morton may be getting a little unnerved here by his catcher's inability to catch the ball. Willie Harris on deck.
Well, he had second and third, no out. He struck out Friday. He's looking at 2 outs, second and third. Get one more out, you're out of the inning. Here, could have a 4 spot here in a second.
He'll take it all the way, and probably will take another one. Now the 3-1, and he fouls it off. So he was given the green light on 3-1.
Well,
a lot of pitchers will not get.
You know what? He's well schooled, and I think that's why Terry Collins gave it to him. Dylan G knows how to play this game. He's only going to swing at a pitch that he can handle. And you're a little short with all your offensive players.
Yeah, if you had Reyes on deck, it might be different than having Harris on deck. So now it's 3-2, and Morton has a chance to get the strikeout he needs. And G makes it hard for him. So Mr. G hanging in there. Pirates have been getting incredible starting pitching every day. In fact, their starters have now gone 10 straight games giving up 2 earned runs or less. Morton's given up 2 runs in this inning, but they may not be earned. And G is down swinging for the second out. So that's the second strikeout for Morton. Now 2 out of the inning, and the infield can move back.
Well, that's that good sinker. Once he starts it on the knees, you see the bottom just drops out. And Dillon could not handle that pitch.
Mercedes-Benz Ultra brought to you by your Tri-State dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. So it's left to Willie Harris with second and third and 2 out. Willie popped to short his first time up. By the way, if you're wondering about Willie's leadoff credentials, this is the 249th Major League game he's hit leadoff. Behind the bag, Overbay's got it, and he'll win the race with Harris to end the inning. So the Mets get a couple of gift runs to get even, and G will go back to the mound for the third, tied 2-2. That's a very cool shot, isn't it?
Wow.
Right underneath the helicopter. Scores of military personnel on hand today on this Memorial Day. Charlie Morton leads off and fouls one off. Third inning brought to you by freescore.com. 3 credit scores, 1 place. Morton just 1 for 20 on the season. Free score.
Very nice. There it goes. Please.
I jumped the gun. Oh, we tuned out to Morton. Charlie Morton, 27 years old, 3rd round draft pick by the Braves back in 2002. And he goes down on 3 pitches. 3rd strikeout for Dillon G. 1 out in the 3rd. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Well, certainly, guys, on this Memorial Day, you recognize what the servicemen and women are doing for us, but you also remember our veterans. And one great example has big-time Mets ties. It's Luke Gaspari, who's an usher here. He's been an usher since Shea opened in 1964. His section is right behind me where I'm sitting right now. Luke was in the Battle of the Bulge. He won a Purple Heart in the U.S. Army. And he told me some unbelievable stories today. He brought in some certificates as a wild pitch by G. He brought in a certificate of him in the Battle of the Bulge, an old picture when he was in the Army that he sent home to his parents that he signed, to Mom and Dad. Love Luke. And he told me he was on the front lines, and he said it was just so intense. For 5 months, he had one shower, guys. He said the biggest treat, we were there for about 6 weeks, and didn't have much water, much food, only was in your backpack. And they brought along black coffee, and it just tasted so good. He said, to this day, I still drink black coffee. Here's a crazy note. First battle that Luke was in World War II was in a town in France called Metz. I mean, if that isn't symmetry, I don't know what is. Just one of the great guys, one of the reasons we celebrate this holiday, because of Luke, guys.
Well, we really need to treasure all of our World War II veterans as G strikes out Tabata. Those guys are getting a little older.
That's right.
And a lot of their brethren have passed away. And I think the more we can learn from their experiences and their stories, the richer we all are.
So true. Metz, of course, where he was at, METZ. Pretty cool.
So 3 straight strikeouts for G. 2 out and nobody on in the third. Here's Garrett Jones, who fanned his first time up, and he takes a strike. Now, we always remark about Dylan G. Here's a guy who led the minor leagues in strikeouts last year. Doesn't throw overpowering stuff, but has a way of missing bats.
Well, he knows how to put people away. What happens is that he throws so many strikes, but he does a couple of things. He has a power changeup that can strike out right-handers and left-handers. He also pitches up in the strike zone, which most guys who don't throw over 90 do not do. So he's got not only changing the eye level, but also the speed differential.
1-2 to Jones.
There's not an exact science. Just totally wanted that ball up again. Cutchin on deck. We showed you that IO pitch differential on the Snyder home run. Of all the pitchers with the Mets, you'd use it less when you have Dylan G pitching.
Now the 2-2 to Garrett Jones, and he struck him out. And Dylan G strikes out the side in the third inning. 4 consecutive strikeouts for Mr. G. It's a 2-2 game in the middle of the third. The third at Citi Field on Memorial Day. Justin Turner will lead things off against Charlie Morton. That scored 2 runs in the second thanks to a couple of passed balls. 1 run will be earned, 1 will be unearned. And Turner takes ball 1 from Charlie Morton. Turner hit a little dribble around in front of the plate, and Snyder threw him out in the first inning. Justin had been struggling through the series in Chicago, but rose to the occasion in the 3 games against the Phillies. Went 7 for 14 in that series, including his first career 4-hit game on Friday night. Grounded to the right side and through for a base hit. Well, they were playing in the pull on the infield. Walker shaded over toward the bag, and Turner poked it right through the hole.
Well, if they had an advanced scout scouting the Mets since Turner's been up, that's egregious that he would be playing Turner to pull, because he has worn out that hole between first and second.
And the larger thing right now with Turner is every time you look for a crack, you say, well, he can't keep up this pace. This is untenable. Every time he slips a little bit, he comes back stronger. And they've tried to knock him down and beat him up, and it hasn't worked.
And the Mets have been forced to move him back and forth from second to third, back to second. Doesn't miss a beat.
He's handled those positions well enough. Sharing pleasantries with Lyle Overbay over at first base. Beltran struck out his first time up, and Carlos bounces one to Wood. The underhand toss for one, and the turn by Walker not in time. Well, if Wood throws that ball with a little more urgency, the Pirates turn 2, but instead they only get 1.
Whenever you throw it underhand, it's got a little bow in it. Makes it more difficult for the second baseman. You can take that, throw it overhand, you can put a little more on it, and another nice thing that Turner does. Makes it a little difficult for Walker to try to turn that double play. All good baseball.
So Beltran's aboard with 1 out. Now Daniel Murphy, who singled to center and then scored in the second inning. Murphy's now hitting 9 straight starts. The only hiccup was a pinch hitting appearance on Saturday. It's the first time this year Daniels hit cleanup. 21st time in his career. Daniel Murphy has the last home run by a Met. That was at Yankee Stadium 10 days ago. But Morton was, as we mentioned, a hard guy to lift against. He's only given up 2 home runs this year. The changeup misses, 2-1.
The changeup there from Morton is kind of the split finger variety.
So far, he's had command of his fastball, but not much else. Double play ball right at Cedeno. Easy as pie for 6-6-3, and the side retired. Morton's become a double play machine. 2-2 after 3. There's a lot of day baseball on this Memorial Day. Roy Halladay was down by a run. No matter. The Phillies got 2 in the 7th and beat the Nats 5-4. Kyle Phillips' first major league home run for the Padres came in the 10th inning off George Sherrill. They beat the Braves 3-2. And Victor Martinez, a 2-run homer as the Tigers got a run in the 8th and defeated Minnesota 6-5.
Victor Martinez almost exclusively now a designated hitter.
Andrew McCutchen leading off the 4th inning, line to right his first time, and takes a strike from Dylan G. 1-1. Also this afternoon, the Astros hit 4 home runs. The weather finally got nice in Chicago, and they beat the Cubs 12-7. The Pirates just came from Chicago, where yesterday they suffered through a 2.5-hour rain delay. So they didn't get quite the chill that the Mets did, but they got plenty of the moisture over the weekend.
And I think it was 90 degrees in Chicago today, so you guys were a week.
So I'm sure the wind was blowing out. Even Jeff Keppinger hit a home run. So there you go.
He's an ex-Met, right? Second baseman?
Yep. 1-2 to McCutchen with Walker and Overbay to follow. And he swings and misses at the fastball, and that is 5 consecutive strikeouts for Dylan G.
Well, another fastball up after some sliders and changeups, and cannot catch up to it so far. And what Dylan G is doing, even though he's a rookie, he's exploiting these young hitters of the Pittsburgh Pirates that you talked about, Gary, early in the game, are just free swinging.
Well, that's 6 strikeouts for G, and that matches his career high. He's gotten the last 5 in a row. There's Neil Walker, who singled to center his first time up. And the first pitch curveball misses for ball 1.
Well, it's interesting to watch Walker, how much movement he has. And, you know, no one really teaches you that. That's something that probably started when he was a kid. But you try to limit all those working parts. He uses that to kind of be a trigger to get that bat going.
For folks who remember Joe Morgan and the chicken flap he used to do with his back elbow, this is even more pronounced.
When I was in, I don't know how old I might have been, maybe last year in Little League or so, I tried to adopt that until I didn't get a hit for a week. My dad took it away. So,
well, Morgan always said that was to remind him to keep his elbow up. I don't know exactly how Walker got into this habit.
Well, by the way, I saw Joe Morgan's baseball card. He did keep that elbow up a lot.
As much as he needed to. All the way to Cooperstown.
That's right.
Maybe the greatest second baseman who ever played the game.
There you go.
Here's the 1-2, and it's up and in. Although Robbie Alomar gave him a run for that.
Robbie, not the power. Certainly had. I think he had better range than Joe. And maybe I said that because Joe's not here.
And the curveball misses. 3-2. She's thrown a couple of curveballs here, still not throwing it for strikes, but looking much better throwing it this at bat.
Well, we've seen Dylan G so far in his early career. He likes to feature that 3-2 changeup to the left-handers.
And he threw the fastball, and Walker just got a piece of it to avoid the strikeout.
Tells me he likes his fastball tonight. It's got a little hop up in the zone.
Giving that ball inside on Walker.
Did you see that ball rattle around the leather of Josh Thole?
Well, it doesn't have to go in there cleanly. It can go around and
almost
and eddy its way in. What it can't do is go off any other part of the catcher's body and be a foul tip third strike. Again, the 3-2, and it's lifted foul. That'll make it over in the seats and out of play. Dillon was able to keep his pitch count way down in Chicago in his last start, even with the bad first inning. He worked 6 innings, took him only 73 pitches to get there. That was the second fewest pitches per inning in any Mets start this year. Only John Neese had a more economical one in his first start of the season. Broken bat, fair ball. G off the mound and makes the play. And the barrel of that bat went sailing toward the Mets dugout. So that breaks the strikeout streak, but Walker only barely making contact for the second out. So now 2 out and nobody on. Here's Lyle Overbay.
Well, you can't get sawed off more than this. Trying to check swing at the last minute was Walker. Too late. That hit below the dark part of that bat, right on the handle.
He liked that bat too. You could see it in his eyes. So after G had struck out 5 in a row, he gets the weak comebacker for the second out, and now Lyle Overbay pops one foul. Overbay had a comebacker into a fielder's choice his first time up.
It's a nice change-up grip. Let's see if he changes or stays with it. Still has it.
And a good changeup. Gets ahead on Overbay 0-2.
Not only does, we talked about how he holds it very loosely, but he, whether he knows it or not, kind of pronates and turns that over almost like a screwball. Again, that grip. Does he stay with it? It's like fastball grip up.
How hard is it for a pitcher to change grips in his glove like that?
Yeah, no, it's very, very easy. Yeah, it's something you fool around. Baseball is almost an extension of your fingers when you get to this point.
So you never misgrip the ball?
Very rarely do you misgrip the ball. I think if you are a guy who has a trick pitch like a palm ball or a fork ball, you might not always get the same grip for it. But as far as these change-up circle grip guys, they start with it. Hard to lose it.
2-2, change up, bounce down to first. Murphy will take it himself. And the side retired. Dylan G settling into a groove. He's retired 8 in a row without the ball leaving the infield. 2-2. Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV, and you can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. First of 4 with the Pirates, then 3 with the Braves to finish off this homestand. Then the Mets go on a long road trip to Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, and Atlanta. In fact, the Mets are playing 8 games with the Pirates, 4 here and 4 in Pittsburgh this week and next. So they'll get to know each other pretty well. Angel Pagan floats one down the left field line, headed toward the short fence, and he'd got the ball.
Did he make the play?
I don't think the glove caught the ball, but it wedged between the tarp and the wall, and Dad got the youngster the ball. There you go.
Oh, I see. Very nice.
Quick hands by Dad.
That's a moment you'll never forget right there. Wow.
1-1 to Pagan, who had an infield hit his first time up, lacing one off the glove of the third baseman Wood. And he hits this one hard past Overbay for a base hit. Well, Angel Pagan, who was really struggling when he went on the disabled list, has come out smoking. He's now 6 for 14 in the 4 games since his return.
Well, what has changed is you see Overbay almost took a step, or at least leaned to his left, which stopped him from making that move to his right a little quicker, but still a bullet. Little chance of making that play off Angel.
So the Mets have a leadoff base runner for the 3rd straight inning. Now Josh Thole, who hit a slow ground ball his first time up.
And Morton's going to try to keep Pagan close, but remember, sinker ball pitchers are very difficult because they can put a lot of ground balls, but they're pitchers that are very apt, or it's a good way to go and hit and run against them.
By the way, Pagan, when he went on the disabled list, was hitting 159. He's now officially off the interstate. It's up to 205.
It's called a Carl Crawford. That's what it's called now.
Everything but the paycheck.
There you go.
Thole fouls one. Every weekday on SNY, get on the New York Sports Local and stay on top of all the latest happenings in New York sports with insider info, exclusive interviews, special guests, and heated debate on Daily News Live, Wheelhouse, and Loudmouth, all part of the New York Sports Local, weekdays starting at 5 on SNY. Morton's given up 5 stolen bases this year in 5 tries. And it's especially important for him to keep Pagan at first because he's been so good at generating the double play. And it's really a measure of how he's changed his style. Last year he had 5 ground ball double plays all year. He's already got 10 this year. And a pitch out. It's not that he lacked for base runners last year. Going 2-12 with a 7.5 ERA.
Well, I'd like to see Angel try to go here, put something on, try to generate a little offense with some of your better players on the DL or gone.
1-1 to Thole. Well, Josh is a good guy to play hit and run with, especially now with a 2-1 count. If you're just joining us, Jose Reyes left the team today because of the death of his grandmother in the Dominican Republic. He's been placed on the bereavement list. He'll be out 3 to 7 days. Bobby Parnell taken off the disabled list to replace Reyes on the roster. And a double play ball right at Cedeno. So the Mets decline to play hit and run. And the Pirates get their 2nd double play in as many innings.
Boy, I'd like to see the manager's face right now, because I think Angel, it was on. Watch Cedeno makes the play. That's 2 of those in this game so far, but Angel looked like he wanted to go and then didn't get the jump he wanted and stayed.
But on the hit and run play, aren't you obligated to go anyway, even if you don't have a jump?
Absolutely. It would be interesting to find out. We'll ask, can't ask till tomorrow, but.
Pridey takes one the other way, and he has a 2-out hit. So Jason Pridey has the Mets' 5th hit off Charlie Morton. But it is remarkable, isn't it? You got a pitcher who, you know, was an up in the zone 4-seam guy, and all of a sudden he has become such a pronounced sinker ball pitcher that he's getting double play after double play.
I can only say from my own existence of being a high draft pick, you come into baseball, professional baseball, and you want to rock the world, show everyone how many strikeouts you can get, how good you can be. And over the course of time, some learn it quicker than others. You figure out not how to strike out people, you learn how to win. And sometimes that means for a guy like Charlie Morton, not a lot of strikeouts. Get the ball on the ground, keep it on the ground.
Pridey, a guy who can steal a base. He has 4 this year. And that one knocked down by Snyder. 1-1. Ruben drove in a run with an infield single his first time up. There goes Pridey, and right toward the vacated hole, Tejada's got a base hit. Pridey to third. He'll stop there as McCutchen picks it up. So Pridey was going, whether a straight steal or a hit and run, and Tejada found the hole.
Well, you'll see the defense, and once Pridey takes off, see the second baseman Walker closer to the bag. He's got to cover. That opens that right side for Ruben Tejada, who's good at hitting that ball through there also. Sometimes the defense, you want to change that up. Make Tejada hit it to the shorts, hit it to that right side, keep your second baseman there.
So now the Dylan G, who struck out with a couple of men on base in the second, has another chance here in the fourth. Dylan has one career run batted in. And he pounds the first pitch down to third, and Brandon Wood takes his time and throws out G to end the inning. Mets had 3 hits in that fourth inning, but they don't score, and the game stays tied. Memorial Day, a combination of somber celebration and then baseball and beach and barbecue and whatever else is on your agenda.
Well, I know that some of the games are at night, but in my day it was always in day games, and it was just, you got a little pumped up when you saw our young people in uniform out in the crowd. You wanted to give them a good show. You really did.
Chris Snyder leads off the 5th inning. Snyder hit a 2-run homer his first time up. We've got all branches represented here today. Snyder breaks his bat. Tejada with plenty of time. And Murphy with the awkward stretch for the first out. That's 9 in a row retired by Dylan G. Sometimes Murphy looks like a pterodactyl at first base.
He does. Well, I think what happens is that not that he's getting used to the throw from Tejada, but the throw from Tejada has a little more loop in it than Jose Reyes's, which is very true and about 10 miles an hour faster. Not that Tejada does not have a good arm himself.
Ronnie Cedeno takes a strike. Cedeno bounced to short his first time up. Well, G continues to shine. He's had allowed only 2 base runners in this game, a single by Walker and then the home run by Snyder in the second. And a little looper behind shortstop, and that'll fall for a base hit. So Cedeno snaps the string of 9 in a row retired by G and has the 3rd Pittsburgh hit. Interesting, after he hung that slider to Chris Snyder, he's kind of put that pitch away. Here's Brandon Wood. Wood struck out his first time up, making his 16th start for the Pirates. Filling in at third base, Pedro Alvarez is the regular third baseman for the Pirates. Kid who grew up in New York, went to Horace Mann High School, and then on to Vanderbilt before the Pirates made him the 2nd player chosen in the draft. Steve Pearce had been filling in for him, and Pearce got hurt yesterday with a calf injury, and he was placed on the disabled list today. So Wood getting himself another opportunity to play. Wood loops one foul, 1-1.
Well, I have to say this is the most fastballs I've seen from Dylan G early in the game. He likes his fastball and he's been using it often.
On the outside corner with that fastball, and he gets ahead on Wood 1-2. In the air to right, and Beltran has it lined up. 2 out. So 2 out. Cedeno still at first. Now Charlie Morton will bat. Struck out his first time up. Check swing tapper, 0-1. Well, there had been some question about whether R.A. Dickey was going to make his start tomorrow, but R.A. pronounced himself good to go after going through some pregame drills today. And that is certainly a weight off Terry Collins' mind.
You know, R.A. though admitted it doesn't can't simulate real game activity, because you go back to that Chicago game when he initially hurt that plantar fascia. It was that quick, rapid movement that you just cannot simulate when you're covering first in pitcher's fielding practice.
Well, you know what the solution is. Make sure they hit everything to the left side.
There you go.
Then you never have to cover first.
Yeah, I watched him yesterday loosen up, run in the outfield. I could see him through the screen. I didn't see this part of it. You know, trying to replicate picking up a bunt.
He did a little more today, coming off the mound to cover first base.
Well, I think R.A.'s a tough kid, and he's been through a lot. And he doesn't want this opportunity to go awry, and just he's going to have to manage the pain. That's going to be the problem for R.A.
Well, he was asked a question today, and it's always an issue when a pitcher hurts his foot, about the possibility of hurting your arm by changing your delivery. And he said, if I thought that was a problem, I would absolutely say something. But he feels as though pushing off on the rubber, which, you know, he doesn't do like a normal pitcher anyway, because he's a knuckleball pitcher, is not really an issue. It's more about breaking in for a bunt or breaking off the mound to cover first, or backing up the base. G strikes out Morton. That's 7 strikeouts, a new career high for Dylan G. We're halfway through at Citi Field. Mets and Pirates tied at 2. Snyder's 2-run homer put the Pirates in front. Mets got 2 back thanks to a couple of pass balls by Snyder. So Snyder giveth and Snyder taketh away. Dylan G has fanned 7 through 5 innings, a new career high. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Mets will have the top of the batting order up, and we'll check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Gary, you touched on it earlier. You know, I mean, the last time the Pirates had a 500 record, it was when Sid Bream slid across the plate, 1992. That's a really long time. I talked to Matt Diaz today. Of course, he's with the Braves for a couple of years, a winning organization coming over the Pirates. And I asked him, you know, what is that brought up? Willie Harris bats here. Is it talked about? He said, you know, look, it's been brought up a couple times, but it's not really talked about. I mean, we're not going to have shirts printed that say, hey, we made it to 500. That's not our goal. Our goal is to make the playoffs. And I'll give you an example what Clint Hurl has done to try and change the culture a little bit as Morton scoots off the mound and retires Harris one away. They had a mini camp in the offseason down at their spring training facility in Florida, and Hurdle showed the guys old films of the Pirates. I'm talking Dave Parker, I'm talking 1960, a bunch of stuff, and they sat and they watched and they learned. Diaz said, you know, I learned some things that I didn't know. It was great. Afterwards, Hurdle said, yes, it's true. The Pirates haven't made the playoffs in 18 years, but this is a proud franchise. There's no reason we can't be just like some of the stuff that we saw. Good stuff, guys.
Well, they've certainly made some progress. And, you know, coming into the season, you would have thought when you looked at the Pirates starting pitching that they had no chance. But they've had some guys like Morton tonight who have upped their game this year, and that's one of the reasons they're as close to 500 as they are.
Yeah, and they're missing a couple. Ross Ollendorf they thought would be a big part of it. He's got a sore shoulder. Paul Maholm, I've always thought could be a fantastic winning pitcher. That hasn't always worked for him, although his last start he was excellent against the Cubs.
Well, he's pitched very well this year, but I think going into that last start he'd gotten 14 runs in 10 starts, something like that. Turner hit by a pitch, that time a curveball. Yet another pitcher coming inside to Turner, albeit with a breaking ball.
But you know what, you see him didn't really move too much. That's the kind of game he plays. If it comes inside, I'm not going to get out of the way. I'm going to get on base.
That was a Ron Hunt move right there.
Yes.
Ron Hunt, who was the first ever starting player in the All-Star game for the Mets. When he became a Montreal Expo, one time got hit 50 times in a season, which still stands as the major league record. And he had the bruises to prove it.
Well, to put it in perspective, Chase Utley usually leads the league with around 20. I think his high was 27, so almost double the amount.
Beltran 0 for 2, struck out, hit into a fielder's choice. That's the first batter that Morton has hit this year, by the way. Toward the hole, and Beltran's got a base hit. Turner stops at second, and so the Mets have their 8th hit, and they have 2 aboard with Murphy coming up. Well, even the base hits against Morton have mostly been ground balls.
Well, when you're talking about the Pirates and what Kevin was talking about, changing the culture, talking about a manager who's been through everything you could be through. A guy that in 1978, I'll never forget, his face was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and I said, who's that cat? I want to be him.
Well, I think the title on the cover was The Next Phenom.
That's right. And it didn't exactly work out that way for Clint in Kansas City.
Hit hard, base hit for Murphy. Turner to third. He'll be stopped there by Chip Hale.
Tapia hits the cutoff man, and the Mets have the bases loaded. So Murphy has 2 more hits after a 3-hit game yesterday.
Well, this is the dilemma for a pitcher who gives up ground balls. Sometimes they find the hole like Beltran and Murphy's have.
So now Pagan is already 2 for 2. An infield single off the third baseman's glove in the second, and then he pulled one through the hole on the right side in the 4th, and Ray Searage, the well-respected Pirates pitching coach, will go to the mound.
Well, Searage has been around a long time. I've known him for a long time. He's one of the brighter guys and getting the best out of his staff, and it's reflected in this year. And you were talking about he is our perfect Met.
He has a place in Mets history that nobody else occupies. Ray pitched for the Mets briefly in 1981. In his Mets career, he had 1 win and no losses. In his Mets career, he had 1 hit in 1 at bat. So Ray is the only Met in history who has a 1,000 winning percentage and a 1,000 batting average.
Rumored to when he left, he said, "My work is done here."
But the Pirates have raved about the work that Ray has done, and you look at their staff ERA, 6th in the National League. Big spot for Morton here. Pagan 2 for 2, bats with the bases loaded, 1 out, tie game, 5th inning. And Angel hooks one foul. The Pirate starters, 10 straight games of 2 earned runs or less. There's a dispute going on, by the way, right now with the official score as to how many earned runs Morton's allowed tonight. Should be 1. The official score is saying none, but he'll be swayed. And again, poked foul by Pagan. So trying to get on top of that sinker and fouling away 2 in a row.
Well, and we've, you know, in those games we showed 10 games in a row, 2 earned runs or less by the starting pitching. They've only gone 6 and 4 in those 10 games. Their offenses struggled at times.
Turner, Beltran, and Murphy, the base runners with 1 out. Now Morton ahead on Pagan, 0-2.
Toward the middle of the diamond, Cedeno with the glove flip, but he can't get it to Walker, and a run comes home, and the Mets take the lead. Now Cedeno made a fine play behind the bag, but as he tried to flip that ball, it stuck in his glove.
Well, another ground ball just to the left of Cedeno, who could not get enough lift on that play. That might have been more prudent to take that out of the glove and at least get 1 out there at second base, trying to make the difficult turn or difficult play and trying to get 2, gets none.
It'll be scored an infield hit for Pagan. He's 3 for 3 today, and that drives in the go-ahead run. Turner comes home to make it 3-2. Bases still loaded for Tolley, and Josh swings at a high fastball, 0-1. Tolley twice has hit ground balls, once into a double play tonight. Pirates have already turned a pair of double plays, and Morton needs another one. Beltran at third, Murphy at second, and Pagan at first. Mets now have 10 hits off Morton. And he's ahead on Tolley, 0-2. Gorgeous purplish sunset descending on Citi Field. Well, the Mets had 17 hits yesterday, 10 already tonight. It's the 5th time in the last 8 games they've reached double figures in hits. What they could use is a big hit, one that clears the bases. I'm not even talking about a grand slam necessarily.
No, you're talking about it. Don't even mention that.
Yeah, well, it's only been 273 games since the Mets had a grand slam.
You mean a bases clearing double or something like that?
Well, you got those outfielders playing so shallow in left and center. Tolley naturally hits the ball that way.
Well, look at the left fielder. I mean, 30 feet from the line.
Breaking ball fouled at the plate, and that one bit Tolley, sent him to his knees.
Well, the thing that it does in this situation with only 1 out is that the sacrifice fly is not a given here by Josh, with the outfielder is so shallow.
Let's see what the Mets have done with the bases loaded. Remember the numbers on Morton coming into the game. The lefty's hitting .341 against them. Well, the left-hand hitters have 7 of the 10 hits for the Mets tonight. Tolley pops it up. And the third baseman Wood takes charge for the 2nd out. So Tolley can't get the run home. Now 2 away. And Jason Pridey will take a poke at it. Pridey was right in the middle of the Mets' 2-run second. He struck out with runners on second and third, but the ball was missed by Chris Snyder for a pass ball as the Mets scored their first run and Pridey reached base. Now he bats here with the bases loaded and 2 out. 1 for 2 on the day. Jason takes the curveball inside and low for ball one.
Well, 13 two-out hits for the Mets in yesterday's game. They'd trade one of them here to get once this evening.
They've had 1 2-out hit so far today among their 10. Bounce foul down past Mookie Wilson, and it's 1-1. There's a souvenir for a Jason Bay fan. That's I told you you'd get one.
Right. Well, I told you to bring your glove.
Bases loaded, 2 out, and Pridey lifts one out to left center. Tabata moves over, and that ends the inning. But the Mets scratch out a run to grab the lead. Turner comes home on Pagan's infield hit with the bases loaded. Pagan 3 for 3 on the day, and the Mets now leading 3-2 after 5 at Citi Field. Sources for Mets information straight from a blogger as passionate about the team as you are, featuring a constant flow of the latest Mets news and opinion. Mets blog presented by Verizon, featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Dylan G now with the lead for the first time as we start the 6th inning. Jose Tabata at the top of the order. Takes a changeup for a strike. Tabata has flied to right and struck out 0 for 2. G has struck out 7, a new career high. He's allowed just 2 runs and 3 hits. Bounce down to Murphy, who gives ground and makes the play on Tabata, 1 away. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by with the New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Let's see, that gives the Padres 23 runs in their last 13 games. And yet they've won their last couple, and they're trying to hang in.
No one can do it better with less offense than the San Diego Padres.
Well, last year it was enough. This year it's not quite enough.
Well, they had such great, Richard was great last year. He got off to a slow start. That Latos couldn't get off to a slower start.
0-2 to Garrett Jones, who has struck out twice.
And when you have a team that's not scoring and you're pitching like they did last season, a lot has to go right, and it's not going to go right 2 years in a row, or it's very difficult for that to happen.
You know, it's amazing how many teams we've seen this year in that similar circumstance, and the Pirates are one of them. Teams that have pitched well and just don't have quite enough offense to get over the hump. I mean, there are very few good offensive teams in this league right now. You look at the Cardinals, who are having a very good offensive year. The Reds. And really, I mean, you'd think the Phillies would be the other one, but they're not really. Milwaukee has the potential to be a very good offensive team.
And the Rockies, they're more streaky than I thought they'd be.
Right. Here's the 0-2 from G. And Jones rockets one towards center. It's sinking on Pagan, but he's there to grab it. The ball had a ton of topspin on it. 2 away. In support of the Welcome Back Veterans Program, New Era is bringing back the Stars and Stripes program for the 4th consecutive year. Mets players and coaches are wearing the hats in tonight's game in honor of America's veterans and to salute members of the armed forces. In further support of the Welcome Back Veterans Program, New Era's MLB Stars and Stripes is on a multi-city tour throughout the remainder of the baseball season. Fans can visit neweracap.com/stars and stripes for more information. Andrew McCutchen is 0 for 2. He's lined to right and struck out. And G looking for his 4th 1-2-3 inning of the night. G this year already has 20 1-2-3 innings. 20 of his 47. That's the highest percentage of 1-2-3 innings for Met pitchers this year. 2-1 to McCutchen.
He reminds me of, I mean, that was R.A. Dickey all season last year, wasn't it? 1-2-3 innings.
Well, it just takes so much pressure off you over the course of a game, doesn't it?
Yeah, and your defense, in and out, give him a chance to hit again.
Well, there's a good slider by G.
You know, the great thing about Dylan G is that we haven't seen it a lot here with young Mets pitching, is in hitters counts, can they throw a secondary pitch for a strike? G can.
2-2 to McCutchen.
Swing and a miss. He got him. 8 strikeouts for Dylan G.
He's having another terrific night. 3-2 New York. On the scoreboard back there, but for the 2nd day in a row, they are playing a tribute to Gary Carter, and it's important that people keep Gary in their thoughts right now.
It really is, and what a wonderful tribute it was, and a great reaction from the fans.
Ruben Tejada is 2 for 2. Had an infield hit to drive in a run into the 2nd, and then singled on a hit and run play in the 4th. And Charlie Morton deals the sinker inside for ball 1. Tejada, G, and Harris 8, 9, and 1 in the order for the Mets in the home 6th, leading 3-2. And Morton behind in the count for a rare time tonight. He has not walked a batter. He had walked 29 in 62 innings coming into this game. That was tied for 5th most walks in the league. But that was mostly early in the season. His first 2 starts, he walked 5 in each of those games. He's been much more control oriented since, but now he's behind on Tejada 3-0. And Ruben takes a strike. Punched in the air, shallow right, and that'll fall for a base hit. And Ruben Tejada is 3 for 3. So Pagan and Tejada, neither one of them has hit the ball all that hard tonight, but each has 3 hits.
All that hard.
You take what you can get. Here's your AT&T trivia question. What Mets pitcher gave up Roberto Clemente's 3,000th and final hit right at the end of the 1972 season, before the fateful mercy flight to Nicaragua that cost Clemente his life? He was a pretty good pitcher too.
He was.
Oh, he was. Wound up pitching for the same organization that drafted you. I got it. G bunts at it and misses. Dillon has struck out and grounded out 0 for 2. Willie Harris, occupying the leadoff spot tonight, is on deck. If you're just joining us, Jose Reyes is away from the team on the bereavement list following the death of his grandmother earlier today. So the Mets will be out without Reyes for 3 to 7 days. One and one to G.
Well, we've seen G in the past when he's missed a bunt. We've seen him some incredible footwork to move up in the box a little bit, try to get that bat in fair territory. It makes it much easier to get that ball down in fair territory. You can see a little open, not quite on that back line, and you move up a little and get it down.
There's a nice bunt by G, and Overbay puts the tag on him. 3 unassisted on the sacrifice, moving Tejada to second. Hitting the road, take the Mets with you this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Mets game live or on demand on your computer and your favorite devices. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. So now Willie Harris with a runner in scoring position. Willie's gone 0 for 3 tonight. Popped up, grounded on, and then tried to bunt his way on. And was thrown out by Morton in the 5th. Mets have 11 hits tonight. They've all been singles. And Harris takes a fastball for a strike. And Morton gets ahead 0-2. Willie starting his 20th game of the year. Began the year playing left field for the Mets when Jason Bay was on the disabled list. His last start was in center field last week in Chicago.
See what Walker trying to hold Tejada close to second. Tejada's not going to steal third. Walker should not be that close. Should try to move into that hole. And the opposite of the Mets, you can see Overbay, the first baseman, really towards the line more, where Murphy is about 10 feet further out.
And the slider strikes out Harris. So Morton has his 3rd strikeout of the night.
And this is a pitch that he has not even used since that same pitch was dropped for a pass ball by Snyder early in the game.
Mercedes-Benz Ultra Mo brought to you by your tri-state dealers on the web at searchmercedes.com. So 2 out of the inning. It's left to Justin Turner. Daniel McCutcheon, who has the lowest ERA of any relief pitcher in the majors this year, is up in the Pirate bullpen. Well, here's Turner, who's 1 for 2. He's also been hit by a pitch today. Remember, Turner had that Met record streak of 7 straight games with an RBI. Well, he's got another streak going of 5 straight games with an RBI. He's just been an incredible run producer, and he's got a chance here to get a run home. Well, that's how you do that. 462 with runners in scoring position.
That's a big pitch right there. Paul Nart, the home plate umpire, calling that a ball.
Carlos Beltran on deck. Nart's a good umpire.
Yeah, he is. Solid. You can hear his call up here in the booth. Emphatic.
And quick.
Quick.
1-1 to Turner. And it goes to the backstop. So a wild pitch from Morton. And boy, you see Snyder's body language going after that ball? That was not good at all. He had 2 pass balls earlier. This one he had no chance for.
Well, just kind of shoved this breaking ball down in the dirt. I don't know if Snyder thought that, you know, you can just lollygag after it. I guess you can with it being so close, but it didn't look good.
Even if you can.
It doesn't look good.
Yeah. Well, you know, Snyder's a guy who has not always been on the best of terms with his teammates. That was the case in Arizona. And, you know, you look at that kind of body language and you can kind of understand why. Well, you have to figure he's going to go after Turner here. You got Beltran standing on deck. So Justin should get somebody to hit here on 3-1. And it's on the outside corner. Good pitch, 3-2. And Turner bounces one down to third. Wood comes in to grab it, and the off-balance throw on target to get him. Side retired. Let's get a leadoff hit. Straight to Tejada at third. Still 3-2 after 6. Three to 2 New York. Neil Walker leads off against Dylan G and takes one in the dirt for ball 1. Walker's 1 for 2 today. You know, we asked the trivia question that we've yet to answer about who gave up Roberto Clemente's final hit. Neil Walker has got a very special bond with the memory of Roberto Clemente. Neil's dad, Tom Walker, was a big league pitcher, and in 1972 he had just finished his rookie year pitching for the Expos, and he was actually helping Clemente load the plane that eventually carried Clemente to his death to try and help out victims in Nicaragua. And a great play by Harris as he makes the jumping grab of that sizzling liner for the first down.
Well, nice hitting by Walker, going the other way, and just a bullet at Harris. Speed of this ball just lifts him off the ground and sends him to the ground.
Oh, something. Anyway, Tom Walker was helping Clemente load the plane and was intending to make the trip with Clemente. And Clemente said to Walker, you know what? You don't really need to go. It was New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
He said, go enjoy the New Year's Eve party. You'll come on the next trip with me.
Wow.
And as Neil Walker puts it, if it weren't for Clemente saying that, Neil wouldn't be here. And so Neil Walker maintains a shrine to Roberto Clemente in his house. I mean, obviously there are people all over the world who revere the great Clemente for not only what he did as a player, but the kind of person that he was. But that gives Neil Walker something of a special bond with.
Yeah, you don't get more personal than that.
Yeah, check swing strike on the curveball. It's 0-2 to Overbet. Talk about sliding doors.
Yeah.
Chris Snyder on deck. And it's too high. 1-2 to Overbet. G has retired 15 of the last 16 batters. The only base runner in that span, a flare single by Ronnie Cedeno in the 5th. Just misses with that fastball. 2-2. It's quite an exhibition of pitching, isn't it?
It really is. And did you see the home plate umpire Paul Nart just shook his head? Nope. Just missed inside.
8 strikeouts already for G tonight, matching a Mets season high. And that just missed. Curveball as again Nart shook his head no. 3-2.
This ball goes around the plate, but awfully tough pitch for Overbay to take, especially since it was called a strike a little earlier. Just caught more of the play. You see it went around.
G has not walked a batter tonight. Hit hard past the diving Murphy, and Overbay has the 4th Pirate hit. So 2 hard hit balls by the Pirates here in the 7th inning. 1 for an out, 1 for a hit. And here's Snyder, who's responsible for the 2 Pittsburgh runs tonight.
You know, whenever you see a home run like this, you really have to break it down and transfer your weight. You see the weight in that left frame all on his back foot, and as he starts to transfer it with that bent back leg in the middle frame, you see finally at contact all that weight is on the front foot, and that back foot almost off the ground.
Snyder's home run was his 3rd of the year. A 2-run shot. He's 1 for 2 on the night. 1 out and 1 on in the 7th in a 1-run game. And a knee-high strike from G. Daniel McCutchen continues to loosen in the Pirates bullpen. And Tolley trying to knock it down, but it squirts behind him, and the tying run moves to second. A wild pitch charge to G, just his 2nd of the year.
I don't know how else to say it. We've seen some real uneven play by the catchers, both catchers in this game. That is a changeup. If the changeup is called by Josh, he's got to anticipate that ball is going to be in the dirt. Backhand play is not going to work.
G is up to 95 pitches on the night. His season high is 107. And Snyder swings over the changeup, and it's 1-2. Ronnie Cedeno on deck. The Mets have out hit the Pirates 11-4, but just clinging to a 3-2 lead. 1-2 to Snyder. And Tolley stops that one. 2-2.
We can see since giving up the home run of that slider earlier in the game that we talked about and broke down that swing, Dylan G has made an adjustment. He's trying to keep that ball down on Snyder. Anything up in the zone, middle of the plate in, is the place to stay away from for Snyder.
Chris Snyder spent half a dozen years with the Diamondbacks. At one time got the bulk of the playing time there until the emergence of Miguel Montero. And that freed the Diamondbacks to deal him to Pittsburgh. Now the 2-2 and a pop up in foul ground. Tolley coming back. Not enough room. It is a very short jaunt from home plate to the backstop here at Citi Field.
There'll be less on your scorecards. Pop up to 2.
It's great for the fans, yeah. Not so great for the pitchers. You must have loved pitching in Oakland with all that foul territory.
Well, by that time, batters were keeping it mostly fair, Derek. So,
again, the 2-2 off the corner and a full count to Snyder.
And that's the first time I've seen G a little frustrated now. That's probably the third pitch, 2 to Overbay and 1 here to Snyder. Very close. I think good calls by the home plate umpire, but just off the corner.
Mets have their bullpen active. Tim Burdack is up. 3-2 to Snyder. Bounce toward the hole. Tejada cuts it off, throws to third, and hits the runner, and everybody's safe. Well, he really didn't have a play. He probably should have just put that in his pocket. But Snyder gets an infield hit, and Overbay is now at third.
That's a difficult play for Harris, too, because he's going in the hole and then has to hustle back. So he's on the run and trying to not only catch that baseball, but apply the tag on Overbay. And luckily that ball hit him, because if it went past, chance there to score.
Probably would have been rolling around in foul territory. So now first and third and 1 out. Ronnie Cedeno coming up. Burdack, the left-hander, and Dale Thayer, the right-hander, will start to loosen as well. Looks like Burdack's sitting down now, and Thayer is getting up. 100 pitches now for G. Look at that 3-to-1 strike-to-ball ratio.
Santana-like, right?
Ronnie Cedeno will be the batter. Now, Overbay is not very fast, but Cedeno certainly is a candidate to lay down a squeeze bunt, so you got to be aware of that.
Oh, yeah, squeeze bunt could be a play. Also, urgency in the middle infield if you're going to turn a double play. Cedeno, great speed.
Cedeno's 1 for 2, bounced to short and floated a base hit into left center. So the tying run at third with 1 out. Some heavy lifting here for Dylan G. Ground ball. Harris smothers it. Goes to second. Gets a force there, but that's all. And Overbay comes home with the tying run. Well, a terrific play by Harris just to get it out. But Cedeno drives in the run to tie the game at 3.
Well, playing on that line, Willie had a long way to go. Smothered it and got up quickly and made a real accurate throw. Only chance they had was to get an out. G got his ground ball, but just too far to the left of Willie Harris with just a great play.
Wow, that was a terrific play. That ball easily could have been rolling around in left field. So now there are 2 out in the inning. Cedeno at first and Brandon Wood the batter. Cedeno has just 1 stolen base this year. Matt Diaz has come out on deck to pinch hit if Wood can keep the inning going. Wood is 0 for 2, struck out and flying to right. There goes Cedeno. Here's Tolley's throw to the wrong side of the bag, but he got him. Good tag by Justin Turner. Cedeno arguing the call with Kerwin Danley, but that ends the inning. Boy, Turner got that tag down from one side of the base to the other in a heartbeat. And it looks like a good call. So the Pirates tie the game at 3. Now in special recognition of the military, USAA now presents the singing of God Bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your caps. Here to sing God Bless America, please welcome back the USO Liberty Bells, who are joined by Engine Man Second Class Timothy Carlton, awarded the Bronze Star. Staff Sergeant Don Leinfelder, awarded the Purple Heart. Sergeant Timothy Gould, awarded the Purple Heart with Oak Leaf Cluster. Specialist Ismail Diaz, awarded the ARCOM with V Device. And First Lieutenant Matthew A. Krempel, awarded the Navy Commendation Medal with V and Purple Heart. We salute these and all heroic men and women who help keep our nation safe and free. And now the USO Liberty Bells.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. My home sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Been lights out this year, comes out of the Pittsburgh bullpen.
Yeah, those numbers are for real. He's only given up one earned run so far this season. Came over from the Yankees, was a starting pitcher there and here early on, but now exclusively a reliever.
3, 4, and 5 in the Mets batting order. Beltran, Murphy, and Pagan after the Pirates tied the game in the top of the inning. Jason Isringhausen up in the Mets bullpen. Dylan G 102 pitches deep in this game. Beltran is 1 for 3, and he checks his swing. And that was judged to not be a swing. Victor Carapazza, the third base umpire, making the call. So it's 2-0 to Beltran. And he takes it low, and McCutchen behind 3-0. Charlie Morton threw 92 pitches over 6 innings, 3 runs. Either 1 or 2 of them earned, depending on what the official scorer finally decides on. 11 hits, no walks, 4 strikeouts. And there's ball 4. Beltran walks on 4 pitches. So McCutchen, who had only walked 4 batters all year, walks the first man to face him tonight. The lowest ERA among National League relievers. Now the Mets have the lead run at first with nobody out. And Daniel Murphy coming up. That's your Cholula hot sauce. Who's hot? Daniel McCutchen. He's hot. Murphy 2 for 3. He's scored one of the 3 Met runs tonight. And Murphy takes a strike. So Murphy had 3 for 5 yesterday, 2 for 3 today. So he's on the rise, up to 276 on the season. And hitting .324 with runners in scoring position. Looking to at least get Beltran into scoring position. Beltran has not yet attempted a stolen base this year.
And he left yesterday's game a little prematurely.
Had a little tight hamstring, something he did not want to take himself out with, but Terry Collins with the lopsided game opted to give him the last 3 innings off. He said there was never a question that he would play today. Mets are playing tonight without Jason Bay out of the lineup just to get a day off. Without Jose Reyes, who's away from the team on the bereavement list. And of course without David Wright and Ike Davis. Ike, by the way, is coming back from Florida to get re-examined. That's not a good sign.
Hit hard into right, a base hit for Murphy. So Murphy has his 2nd straight 3-hit game. And the Mets have the first 2 men on in the 7th.
We talked about it earlier, getting a pitch to hit and putting some force behind it, and that's what Murphy's done. He's in attack mode this past week, and it's really made a big difference, and also pulling the baseball much better than he was when he was struggling.
So the Mets now have 3 players with 3 hits tonight. Tejada, Murphy, and Pagan, who's 3 for 3. Now on a normal day you'd say with a guy like Pagan maybe you'd bunt with him, but with what's behind him in the lineup, I don't think you can afford to do that, can you?
Well, it's pretty interesting watching Chip Hale. He was letting the runner Beltran know at second base, make sure that ball with the line drive, be careful. So that lets you know maybe Pagan's swinging the bat.
I would think he has to swing the bat. Let's check in with Kevin.
As in St. Lucie, Pagan worked a lot with their hitting coach George Greer. His biggest message: use your hands and trust your hands. You are using all your body too much. Terry Collins said the one thing I've noticed since he's been back, he's not trying to kill the ball. It's worked for him so far, guys.
Well, he's 7 for 15 in the 4 games since he returned, after going on the disabled list with a 159 average.
My old coach in amateur baseball, George Greer, he knows what he's talking about.
First and second and nobody out. Pagan set to swing, and he rifles one down the right field line, but foul. So no thought of a bunt there, and Pagan just a little too quick.
Well, the other option you have, Gary, is that you've seen managers before, especially with Pagan, who seems like he's out of that early doldrums. They give him 1 strike and hit, and then sometimes bunt. But I personally would let Pagan hit.
Yeah, well, McCutchen is done after he's had runners on base this year. He's got a couple out there with nobody out. And Pagan fouls one at the plate, and quickly he's down 0-2. Well, he was down 0-2 the last time. Hit one behind the bag at second. Cedeno got it, tried to make a glove flip, which came up short, and that brought home what at the time was the go-ahead run. Pirates subsequently tied the game in the top of this inning. And now the Mets trying to regain the lead. Jose Ascanio, the right-hander. Daniel Moscas, who was just recently called up, the left-hander. Mets have a dozen hits. They need another to try and take the lead. And Pagan jumps back. 1-2.
That's just a show pitch there from McCutchen. Steady diet of sliders you're going to get from Daniel McCutchen on this evening. Fastball in. Straighten up Pagan, who's leaning a little over the plate. Good pitch.
One-two to Angel. In the air to right center field. Chasing back is McCutchen. He gets there to make the grab, but tagging at second is Beltran, and he moves over. I think Murphy, in retrospect, would have loved to have tagged as well, but the Mets at least have the lead run at third base with one out.
Well, I'll tell you right there, Beltran did a perfect job. He was watching that ball. If it goes in the gap, he's going to be able to score easily. But I will tell you, off the bat, Murphy saw what I saw. That was the ball that maybe could have been a double in the gap, and he could have scored that second run. Hard call from Murphy. Hey, forget, though, how talented McCutchen is in center field.
He is a terrific outfielder. So now the Mets are a fly ball away from grabbing the lead. Josh Thole has had a rough night at the plate. Had two men on in the first inning. He grounded out. Had a man aboard in the fourth and into a double play. Had the bases loaded and one out in the fifth and popped up. Now he's got another chance. First and third and one out. Only put in the sixth spot in the batting order today in this shorthanded Mets lineup. And he's been in a key position all night. Josh coming off a big game yesterday with 3 RBIs. And he takes it down for ball one. Well, the Mets have done very poorly this year getting a runner in from third with less than 2 out. Only 46% of the time.
Key for Josh has got to get something up in the strike zone. Good job laying off that first pitch. Do not want to hit the ball on the ground here.
By the way, Thole has been one of the Mets' best this year getting that runner in from third. Although he has failed to do it once tonight, he's now 6 for 10 on the year. Beltran at third and Murphy at first with one out. Isringhausen getting ready in the bullpen. And Thole takes it low. 2-0. McCutchen put himself in trouble by walking the leadoff batter. 2-0 to Thole. And he fouls one into the ground, and it's 2-1. Mets have hit into 2 double plays tonight, including one off the bat of Thole in the fourth. Murphy hustles to get back.
Can't be that close.
He nearly got caught flat-footed.
You got to go down with the slide. Don't even take a chance on going back standing up. Go down on your belly.
Doug Eddings, the first base umpire, with the correct safe call, but very close. 2-1 to Thole. And this time Murphy goes lengthwise.
This will be a real test here. You have an outfield that's playing a little shallower against Josh Thole. Beltran tight hamstring yesterday.
Would you consider putting Murphy in motion here to stay out of the double play?
Well, I think they're trying to do, but Murph is got to be a little more cautious getting back.
Not going.
And Tolley rifles one to the gap in right center. That'll go all the way to the wall. Beltran is in. Murphy turns third. He'll score. It's a 2-run double for Josh Tolley. And the Mets go up 5-3 in the 7th.
The spotlight on Josh Tolley. Why has he been hitting better when he gets his pitch? He's been pulling the baseball much more often. That's hitting it against the defense. That big hole in right center. No chance for McCutchen with that great speed to get there. And one of those big hits you were talking about, Gary.
6 RBIs in his last 9 at-bats for Josh Tolley. Worked the count to 2-1 and got 2 runs in against a pitcher who'd given up only 1 run all year. Now the Pirates will go to their bullpen again as McCutchen exits and the left-hander Moskos comes in. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln. 5-3 New York in the 7th. Cars to drive fast past people who don't care about cars at all. By Verizon Fios. Switch to Fios and network ahead. To learn more, visit verizon.com/getFios. And by Lexus. Rookie left-hander Daniel Moskos on the pitch for the Pirates.
Well, he puts a lot of effort into releasing the baseball. See his numbers there: 3 walks and only a strikeout in the 4 2/3 innings of work. Little sinking fastball, changeup, and slider.
Running to face Jason Pridey with a runner in second and 1 out. 2 runs home for the Mets in the 7th. They've gone back in front 5-3. Pridey is 1 for 3, singled back in the 4th. Josh Tolley with the big hit, a 2-run double. The Mets' 13th hit, but their first extra base hit of the day. Friday lifts one out to left, and Tomita comes in, and that's the 2nd out. So 2 out in the inning. First base open. The number 8 hitter coming up. The Mets have the bullpen active, so it looks like they're going to bat for G if it gets that far. Jose Ascanio, the right-hander, up in the Pittsburgh bullpen, and as Tejada comes up, Nick Evans has come out on deck to pinch hit. Tejada's 3 for 3, an infield hit, a solid single to right center, and then a dunker into right. Jason Isringhausen getting ready to pitch the 8th inning.
Reyes had 4 hits, and Murphy and Tolley 3 in yesterday's game, and 3 more hitters with 3 hits today for the Mets.
Well, Murphy has 3 today, Pagan has 3, and Tejada, who moved over to play short to replace Reyes, has 3. Trying to pick up Tolley from second, and he takes a strike. Facing Daniel Moscas, who was the 4th overall pick in the 07 draft coming out of Clemson. The Pirates were chastised no end when they passed on Matt Wieters to draft Moscas, who got a $2.5 million bonus, but has not lived up to it so far.
Wieters has his 2nd year as a starter as the switch hitting backstop for the Baltimore Orioles, who I think everyone agrees is going to be outstanding.
Well, I think the Pirates felt at the time that they just couldn't afford the money that Wieters was demanding, and so they went for the lower priced option. Moscas had a great career at Clemson. Bounce toward the hole. Cedeno and a long throw to make, and right on target. Beautiful play by Ronnie Cedeno to get Tejada and end the inning. But Josh Tolley with the biggest hit of the day for New York. 2 on and 1 out, and he doubled to the gap in right center to chase home 2. And it's 5-3 New York as we go to the 8th. City Field with Ari Dickey on the mound. Mets Pirates coverage begins with Pepsi Max pregame live tomorrow at 6:30 only on SNY. Jason Isringhausen on to pitch the 8th inning as the Mets have given Dylan G a 5-3 lead.
You know, it's really been a struggle for Izzy since he came in Chicago just to get some work and gave up the home run to the left-handed hitter. After that, each of the successive 2 outings, he's also given up a run against the Phillies in his last outing with a walk to Polanco.
Well, Izzy had pitched 3 days in a row before getting yesterday off. Now he faces Brandon Wood leading off the 8th inning. Wood was at the plate when Ronnie Cedeno was caught stealing to end the 7th. Wood is 0 for 2 on the day. And Izzy falls behind him 2-0. Xavier Paul has come out on deck for the Pirates to be a pinch hitter. Former Dodger. And Izzy falls behind 3. Well, the bullpen, which was so good for so long, last week has just been horrid. Even yesterday, when the Mets took a 9-1 lead into the 8th inning, the bullpen got tagged for 4 runs in the last 2. There's a strike.
41 hits. Wow.
In 6 games. And 29 runs?
Well, start a new streak. That's how you got to feel as a contingent of guys that out there in that bullpen. You're going to have some streaks where they're not so good. Start a new good streak now. That's how you feel as a group.
Here's Xavier Paul. 3-2 now to Brandon Wood. And he fouls it back. Dylan G threw 102 pitches over 7 innings, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, no walks, 8 strikeouts, a wild pitch and a home run, and in line to go 5-0 to start the season. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. So after 3-0, Izzy comes back to strike out Brandon Wood. Let's check in with Chris Carlin. He has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Diamondbacks just could not be hotter. 7 straight wins now. First place in the NL West. Jose Ascanio up in the bullpen for the Pirates as Xavier Paul bats for the pitcher Daniel Moscas. Paul picked up on waivers from the Dodgers earlier this year. Takes it high for ball 1. By the way, if Dylan G gets the win tonight, he'll go to 5-0. There's been only one rookie starting pitcher in Mets history to win his first 5 decisions in a season. And that was John Matlack back in 1972.
You might be mentioning him later, maybe.
Maybe. Paul, the only left-handed bat on Clint Hurdle's bench tonight. They have got a very makeshift bench today. They just called up 2 players from the minor leagues. A backup catcher Dusty Brown and an infielder Josh Harrison, with 2 players going on the disabled list. There's a strike, 2-1. You have to say the Pirates are about as no-name a team as there is in the National League.
But with Alvarez is on the DL and Tabata and McCutchen, Walker, they're the beginnings of a real foundation.
Well, that's what they're hoping. They've had multiple general managers come through to try and rebuild that franchise over the last 18 years. And they're hoping now that they've hit on a formula. I don't know how David, by the way, is staying sane over the last 2 weeks.
By getting all over Pelfrey, that's wild.
Well, that's just easy. Yeah. 2-2. Just missed. And a full count. Isringhausen might have thought he had that. Went strolling off the mound after Paul Nart called it ball 3.
I think Izzy's just frustrated with himself, and when you get to a little more of an advanced age, Gary, there's no stop in your windup. Kind of just roll it into the infield and then bring it back.
He's run full counts to his first 2 hitters. He struck out Wood. Now he's 3-2 on Paul. And a Tapper foul.
The Mets defense. Alexis, 11 holds by Izzy, but Prady, Pagan, Beltran, Harris, Tejada, Turner, and Murphy, and Tolle. I mean, those are names that we saw in March, end of February.
By the way, it's a new SNY record. The latest appearance of the Mets defensive alignment. 8th inning. I think that's 6 innings later than ever before. The 7th field for Pagan, and Paul is retired for the 2nd out. I mean, that's a stunning development right there.
By the way, I enjoy it. We should show it twice a game.
We should do it more often, especially after there are changes.
Yes.
Here's Jose Tabata. We should show the lineup more than once.
That's right.
Especially after a double switch.
We do that sometimes when we show the scorecard, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a nice effect. Here's Jose Tabata, who's flied out, struck out, and grounded out 0 for 3. So Izzy's retired the first 2. Trying to set it up for Francisco Rodriguez. And missing high, ball 1. That was a side 2-0. Jose Tabata came over to the Pirates in the same trade that brought them Daniel McCutcheon and Jeff Karstens, who's in their rotation, and Russ Ohlendorf, who's on the disabled list.
And Nady involved in that deal?
Nady and Damaso Marte went the other way to the Yankees.
The left-hander.
To shortstop, and Tejada comes in to grab the hop. And comes down top in a 1-2-3 inning for Jason Isringhausen. Nice bounce back for Izzy. And it sends it to the bottom of the 8th with the Mets up 5-3. Scenes for this day of honor and remembrance. We're going to the bottom of the 8th inning, and Jose Ascanio takes over the pitching for the Pirates.
Well, he had shoulder surgery last year, missed the entire 2010 season. Started with the Atlanta Braves, was with Chicago for a while, and then came over to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the trade for the left-handers Graybow and Gorzolani.
And he had earlier been acquired by the Cubs in the deal that sent Omar Infante from the Cubs to the Braves. I don't think Infante ever played for the Chicago Cubs, did he?
No.
Nick Evans looking for his first hit since being called up. K-Rod getting ready for a save opportunity in the 9th. Nick's gone 0 for 4 so far. Well, the Mets tonight have 5 runs on 13 hits. Yesterday they had 9 runs and 17 hits. The Mets have been pounding out huge hit totals. In fact, 5 times in the last 8 games they've had double digits in hits. The last 8 games they're hitting .329 as a team, but they're averaging 4.3 runs per game. So a lot of hits, but not quite so many runs. Willie Harris on deck, then Justin Turner as the Mets try to tack on in the 8th. And the breaking ball misses, 1-2 to Evans. Ascanio, now 26 years old, a native of Venezuela. Two and 2 to Evans. Mets are a man short on the bench because when Reyes went on the bereavement list, the Mets activated Bobby Parnell off the disabled list. So right now they're carrying 13 pitchers, and they have just 4 bench players. And all of them tonight are right-hand hitters. 3-2 now to Evans. Evans batting for Isringhausen, who had a very solid 1-2-3 inning. And Nick takes it outside for ball 4. So Escanio had him 0-2. And Evans works out the walk. USAA would like to recognize our American military members here at the ballpark today, and they are here in droves. A great turnout for all branches of the service on this 2011 Memorial Day. Here's Willie Harris, who's 0 for 4. And he swings and pops one up in foul ground. Third baseman Wood is calling. One pitch, and Harris retired. Well, let's answer our AT&T trivia question. We asked you who gave up Roberto Clemente's final hit in 1972, and, well, we just mentioned him. John Matlack. And there is the great Clemente, who is honored at PNC Park in Pittsburgh in many ways, including the height of the right field fence, which is 21 feet high, to honor number 21.
What a player.
Well, he operated in the shadows of guys like Aaron and Mays for a good portion of his career until the 1971 World Series, when he put all of his skills on display against the Baltimore Orioles. Low and away to Turner, and it's 2-0. Justin 1 for 3. He's also been hit by a pitch and scored a run tonight. It's also hard to believe that Clemente was originally signed by the Dodgers.
Right.
And was drafted out of their organization by the Pirates.
Like kind of the precursor to the Rule 5.
Mm-hmm. And now it's 3-0. Beltran and Murphy to follow. There is no other lefty in the Pittsburgh bullpen. Their other left-hander, Joe Beimel, is on the disabled list. So it's in Escanio's hands here. Escanio, the 4th Pittsburgh pitcher of the night. And he throws a strike, 3-1. Charlie Morton, the starter, went 6 innings, allowed 3 runs on 11 hits. Daniel McCutchen is on the hook. He had allowed only 1 run all season, but he gave up 2 in a third of an inning tonight. Daniel Moscas retired his 2 batters, and now Escanio pitching the 8th. 3-1 to Turner. In the air to deep left center field. Racing back is McCutchen, and it's over his head and off the wall. Racing for third is Evans. He's waved home. The relay throw by Cedeno, not in time. It's a run-scoring double for Justin Turner. He just keeps on driving them in. And it's 6-3 New York. So Turner, who had a 7-game RBI streak earlier, now has a 6-game RBI streak.
Well, Escanio with that 3-1 fastball up in the strike zone, and looked like Turner might have gotten all of it, but this big ballpark kept it in. Almost looked like a nice play by McCutchen off the Karen, but he tried to go after it with the bare hand. And the IOTV pitch differential wants that down and away, and that's middle on a 3-1 count.
92 at bats, 21 RBIs for Justin Turner. Phenomenal. There's Beltran, 1 for 3 and a walk, and takes the breaking ball for a strike. So the leadoff walk to Nick Evans after Escanio had him 0-2 comes back to haunt him. Justin Turner, 2 more hits tonight. Got 10 extra base hits now, 21 RBIs. Talk about holding the fort. He's doing more than that in the absence of David Wright.
Well, I think when Terry Collins had that meeting in Chicago and was saying, hey, listen, you guys are in the major leagues. You're going to have to play like major leaguers. Well, no one listens more or better than Justin Turner.
He's got the highest batting average of any major league rookie. And despite having just over 90 at bats, moving up on the RBI lead. Beltran curls that one under the pitcher. Walker stops it but has no play, and Beltran has his second hit of the night.
Well, the Mets have also had some well-placed ground balls tonight. Nice play by Walker to keep it in the infield. And Justin Turner, you can see, trying to pick up the coach to get in the outfield. No, Chip Hale, stay on third.
Well, the Mets, who had 17 hits last night, have 15 hits tonight. And a chance to add to their 6-3 lead with Daniel Murphy, who has his second consecutive 3-hit game. And with that, all of a sudden has his average up to 280. That was quick. So Daniel has begun to hit line drives all over the place as he takes the off-speed pitch for a strike. Murphy 3 for 4. He scored 2 runs tonight. One and one. Turner at third, Beltran at first with 1 out. Mets have a run home here in the 8th after taking the lead on Josh Tolley's 2-run double in the 7th. Slow bouncer, tough to turn 2. Walker gets 1, but no relay, and a run comes home. Turner scores to make it 7-3. They'll give Murphy an RBI, his 17th. SNY Sports Authority have been donating $5,000 to local youth baseball leagues as part of the SNY Play Ball Award. Want a chance to earn $5,000 for your league? Applications are still available. Just go to sny.tv/playball or visit any local Sports Authority location. So the Mets have 2 runs home in the 8th. They lead 7-3, and now Angel Pagan has gone 3 for 4 today and driven in a run. Murphy at first and 2 out. And Ascanio misses away with the fastball. Josh Tolley, who has the biggest hit of the night for New York, is on deck.
That's going to get overlooked, but on that ground ball by Murphy, showing great speed was Beltran to beat that play, because the play for Walker was to tag Beltran and go to first for the double play, but Carlos was able to beat him, Walker, to the spot.
Something that maybe a month and a half ago he might not have been able to do. But he is running very, very well. The only thing we haven't seen from Carlos yet is the confidence to try to steal a base. He's not yet attempted one this year, but he's done everything else, whether it's running the bases or running in the outfield.
Well, with our eyes on him and the way he's running right now, he absolutely can, do that. But it'll be more in the vein, maybe how Jason Bay steals bases, 7, 8, 9, 10 a year. Opportune times.
And I would think that the one thing, and I can't speak for Carlos, but the one thing that might be holding him back is he wants to minimize the sliding.
Well, he's staying in that lineup. Don't do anything different.
When he has stolen in his career, he's been enormously successful. 3-1 to Pagan, and he hits it sharply to short. And Cedeno takes it to the bag for the inning-ending force play, but the Mets tack on 2. No save opportunity tonight for K-Rod. A 7-3 lead for the Mets as we go to the 9th. For all things New York sports coming up tonight, Memorial Day for the Mets. We'll look around the division and look at Miami and Dallas as they get ready to start the NBA Finals. Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame, only on SNY. Francisco Rodriguez on to try and finish it off, and Garrett Jones takes ball one. Not a save situation for K-Rod.
We'll see his outstanding numbers on the season. 25 hits in 25 innings is something you haven't seen in Rodriguez in the past.
Trying to bounce back from Friday night's performance against the Phillies, in which he gave up 3 runs and 5 hits in the night. Murphy chasing this pop-up, but runs out of room. And that one caromed and smacked Josh Tolan.
Well, we always saw Ike Davis that he would balance and almost gently fall over that wall in front of the dugout. I think Murph at some point is going to knock it over.
I don't think gently is in his repertoire. He plays at top speed every minute.
He does.
He? 1-1 to Garrett Jones, and he lifts one behind third base, and that one will sail under the crowd. 1-2. Well, K-Rod trying to finish it off for Dylan G, who went 7 terrific innings tonight. 3 runs and 5 hits, no walks, a career high 8 strikeouts. Jason Isringhausen a 1-2-3/8. Mets were down 2-0, up 3-2. Pirates tied it in the 7th, but Tolley's 2-run double in the bottom of the 7th put the Mets in front, and they tacked on 2 more in the 8th for the 7-3 lead. Deck, and then Neil Walker for the Pirates in the 9th. 2-2. A swing and a miss. He got him with a changeup. K-Rod fans Garrett Jones for the first out in the 9th. Let's check in with the studio, see what's coming up on Lincoln Postgame Live. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda, guys. All right, we'll check that out after the game. Thanks.
Good to have Bobby O back in there. The guy they had over the weekend was brutal.
I thought you liked being in the studio.
Of course I do. No, I said I was brutal.
But you and Gary Apple formed a terrific team.
That's right.
Andrew McCutcheon's 0 for 3 tonight. Mets have done a great job against the top of the Pittsburgh batting order. Tabata, Jones, and McCutcheon, the top 3 hitters in the order, have gone 0 for 11 with 6 strikeouts. Neil Walker on deck. One, and McCutcheon lays off. 2 balls and a strike. K-Rod has been throwing a lot of 2-seam fastballs this year. Throwing more off-speed stuff tonight.
Yeah, a lot of changeups, almost like he's working on it.
This is the time to do it when you have the 4-run lead. There's one of those 2-seamers for a strike, and it's 2-2.
Now, if the Pirates don't rally here, the Mets will keep them winless here at Citi Field.
That swept a 3-game series from the Pirates in the first year of Citi Field in 2009, and they swept a 4-game series here last September. 2-2. And that's down low. A change up, 3-2. Andrew McCutcheon. Such a multi-talented guy. Can run. He's got power. He's patient at the plate, and he draws the walk here. And so the Pirates have a 1-out base runner. First walk of the night issued by Met pitchers.
Have to go along with 10 punch-outs and Mets pitching tonight.
There's Neil Walker. 1 for 3. And a bullet his last time up that took Willie Harris off his feet. And that was big because in that inning, Dylan G appeared to tire a little bit, gave up a couple of hits. And Harris made 2 outstanding plays in that inning, one on the line drive, which caught him as much as he caught it. But then the diving play that he made on Cedeno's ball to get the second out, that was enormous. Good changeup, and Frankie gets ahead on Walker.
Well, put in that leadoff spot for what, the 249th time I think you said today. Might not gotten a lot going offensively with no hits, but helped with his fine defensive plays.
Out to right center field, chasing toward the gap is Pagan with Beltran, and Pagan makes the catch. An incredible play by Angel Pagan as he goes down in a heap. Well, he and Beltran came close. Pagan avoids the collision and somehow makes this grab.
Makes the basket catch, avoids Beltran. Off the top turnbuckle and the ball back in. What a play.
Well, that was splendid. It looked like he was looking at Beltran rather than the ball, and somehow the ball found the leather. That's outstanding. Well, you remember the first time that Pagan and Beltran played together in the outfield in Los Angeles back on that fateful day a couple of years ago? That was the Ryan Church game. McCutchen runs. They'll take second on defensive indifference. Well, they've come a long way since then.
Well, although I still think that there's a part of Angel that still feels like he wants to defer to Carlos Beltran.
It's not his job anymore to defer.
But I will tell you, that ball right there, you say you can't call for that. Both guys going, and you just hope one of you can get there in time.
Well, that was a well-struck ball by Neil Walker. It's a home run in most Major League ballparks. Here it becomes a tremendous play by Pagan for the second out of the ninth. 1-1 to Lyle Overbay. Yeah, that just misses 2 in a row.
But Pagan was playing straight up, so had the longest way to go. And you can see Beltran finally takes his eyes off it when he knows he can't catch it. And Carlos almost catching the ball, has his eye on it, but also has his eye on Carlos Beltran also.
Overbay with a weak cut. And the Pirates are down to their final strike. Pulled down to first. Murphy's got it. He'll take it himself, and the ball game is over. The Mets wrap out 15 hits. Josh Tolley with the big blow. Dylan G becomes the second Mets rookie starter ever to begin a season 5-0 as the Mets take the opener from the Pirates.
Well, Pagan, Tejada, and Murphy, each with 3 hits. The biggest hit, though, as you mentioned, Gary, was Josh Tolley's 2-run double, cleaned up by Isringhausen and Frankie Rodriguez. But Dylan G continues to amaze. 5-0, 7-2 in his young career.
Well, the Mets had 15 hits today, 17 hits yesterday, so they're racking up the base hits on a day when they had no Wright, no Davis, no Reyes, no Bay, no Matter. Josh Tolley with the big hit. Daniel Murphy with his second straight 3-hit game. Tejada and Pagan each with 3 hits as well. Justin Turner drives in a run for a 6th straight game, and Dylan G did the rest as the Mets overcome the Pirates 7-3 for their 2nd straight win to get within 3 games of 500. Mets win 7-3. Back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.